we start with the instructions for part 4 of the mystery, I would like to take you for a walk through the open air museum to show you some of our Dutch heritage. Welcome to the open air museum, Holland in a nutshell. I very much would like to show you something of Holland. Since traveling around through whole Holland is too much, I decided to show you some of the Dutch traditions here in the open air museum. Shall we go? In this house, the photo for the front cover of the book Promenade dans un jardin hollandais was made. And I have good news, the book will be reprinted and available in September. Welcome to Quiltmania Mystery Discovery Part 4. We are going to add another border with a vine and stars. For this border, we're going to use 5 new fabrics and 1 that's the same as we had at part 1. You will need 50 centimeters of this, 25 by 1 meter 5 lengthwise, a fat quarter, 2 fat eighths, and this is a smaller part, 20 centimeters by 55 centimeters. The little dot will be used for the center of the stars. As well, we will use from the previous parts the blue ones, the purple, the ecru yellow ones, the red ones, and the dark brown. This will be for the star. First, we're going to make the background of the star border. For this, we use the stripe fabric and the dot, as well as the 4 5-inch squares that we laid apart the previous time. For me, this fabric was a little too white, so I decided to tea dye it. It matches more to the dotted fabric. My tea dyed method is I boil 1.5 inch, no, not 1.5 inch, 1.5 liters of water, use 4 tea bags, make a very strong tea in a large bowl, cool it off a little, otherwise you will burn your hands. Very quickly put my piece of fabric in it, take it out, iron it dry, and if the color suits me, I leave it like that. When I think it's still too light, I do it again, and then it comes to this color. For the background, we are going to cut from the dot fabric 8 2.25 inch strips, and from the stripe fabric 4 1.5 inch strips lengthwise. You can either use this part of the fabric or this part of the fabric. That's up to you. Sew them together, the 2 2.25 inch and the 1.5 inch to make this border. The width is 5 inch and cut it to the right size of 40.5 inch. Then on 2 of these on both sides, so one of your 5-inch squares, like this. To transfer the line where you are going to sew on the vine, I used a tip I got from my friend Di Ford to copy your border on a simple copy machine. Put it on a light box. After you draw the vine, of course, put it on a light box. Put your fabric over it. Draw the line on your fabric. For this I used a friction pen. That pen goes away when you iron it, so it disappears totally, and then you have the line and you can start sewing on the vine. From the fat quarter, the dark teal two-tone, we're going to cut the bias for the vines. Fold your fat quarter on the diagonal in two. Cut, I ironed it first, cut it on the iron line, and you have 2 halves. From this half, cut sew the strips together like this, as well on the bias, and make 4 strips measuring 150 centimeters or 60 inches. Not shorter, a little longer is no problem. Fold the strip, iron it, and your bias for the vine is ready. Take your bias strips, pin them on the border, leaving a piece like this, don't forget that, and then sew them on along the drawn line with small stitches. Fold the bias and applique with small stitches on your background. For the corners, when this is sewn together, you sew it here over your drawn line. You cut it because this will be covered by a star. After you appliqued on the vine on your borders, sew on your borders to the center. Let's make the stars using our yellow scraps, our red scraps, our blue scraps, the dark brown, the purple, and the yellow with the pink dots. We have 1/2-inch hexagon papers and 1/2-inch jewel papers. For each border, you need, for the center, 1 hexagon star with the dark brown and the red, so you make 3 brown and 3 red points. You will need 2 blue stars for each border, using 2 different blues. You need 2 yellow stars for each border, using 2 different yellows. You need 2 red stars for each border, using 2 different reds. And for the 4 corners, I used for each corner a purple and 1 of the blues. And every star has a center of yellow with a pink dot. After you made your 32 stars, take out the papers like this before appliquing. Then applique your stars on to your borders. The reason that I take out the papers is because here are a lot of seams and a vine, and it will be hard to take the papers out afterwards. My part 4 of the mystery is finished. It was great fun making this border. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did, and I will see you again in September.